Okay, we're just sitting here.
It's
5:30. We got to wait till
5:30.
hour and a half. Yes. So 7 o'clock we have a night tour.
It starts at 7:05. I mean, it really starts at 7. No, 7:05 will pick you up at the hotel. But here it starts at 7.
Right.
Yeah, we got too much work to do. I do. I'm sorry. I was trying to put you on the spotlight here. Just a couple safety reminders, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember to keep everything inside the vehicle at all times. Please remember there's no smoke. The FBI building is. Right here? Yeah, right here on the left. Where you can see where the street light is just ahead of us. All that grass and the security entrance there, that is all the White House grounds. So you won't be able to see the actual White House from where we are, because the Treasury Department's in the way, but I'll show you. They call it the America's Main Street. Now this parade happens right here on this avenue. Now days before inauguration, this whole street is cleared out. So the bumpers separating the bike lanes are all gone. Even the street lights in the middle here, those are all removed as well. And all these buildings on the right-hand side that were coming from the White House all the way down to the Federal Trade Commission up here, really close to the Capitol. It's called Federal Triangle, a bunch of our government buildings that are over here. Like here on the right-hand side is the EPA. This is William Jefferson Clinton's building, the Environmental Protection Agency. Next up on the left, you'll see the Post Office Pavilion. I'm sorry, it's up here on the right-hand side with the big bell tower. If you go in on this entrance, this is the Trump International Hotel on the inside. If you go to the back, though, that's where you can enter into the museum entrance and see one of the best panoramic views in the city from 9:30 to 4. The bells ringing around this area. Yep. I didn't get to hear it either. Supposedly the United States Navy Memorial with the flags representing the ship's sails here. Also on the left, sitting on his horse here, General Winfield Scott Hancock, another general for the Union in the Civil War. The Trade Commission shows you what they do on the outside by this statue here on the right. So every night at midnight, the FTC has horse wrestling in the basement. You gotta knock 3 times and give them the password. That's real. It's over $20 per person. Cool. But you do get 2 days if you have of the National Gallery of Art. So inside the gallery is where you can find art pieces done by Leonardo da Vinci, Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, Monet, Rembrandt. Look at that. If you get a chance to go to the top of the reflecting pool over to the right, that's where you can get the nice reflection in there. If we turn right, we'll get another great view of the north side of the Capitol. It's going to be on our right-hand side. East front of the Capitol. It's all on the east side. So where we originally did inaugurations way back in the day, Jimmy Carter was the last inaugurated president on the east front. But ever since, after him was Ronald Reagan. We've been doing it on the west front ever since. Here on the left, Christopher Columbus here, right in front of Union Station. That's where we're gonna end. She's standing right in that blue shirt, right in front of all those trolleys there.
I'm confused.
Everybody else is
going the same place.
okay. Here I got it. That's the one filled out. That is. You get around.
Right. Here am I right? Well, there it is in front of a trolley, the United States Capitol building. So it's the center of our street pattern, center of our government. The United States Capitol building is one of the oldest buildings here in our city. It was built from 1793 to 1800. Although that dome on top is not original. It's the second of the 2 domes that has been there. The second dome was built from 1860 to 1866. When construction on the second dome began in 1860, there were 33 states in the Union. Thus, there are 33 columns holding it up to the rest of the structure. Up top, there are 13 columns. They represent the 13 original states of the United States of America. And They hold a statue of Lady Freedom at the very end of the Second World War. The Japanese Americans that volunteered to serve the United States military during the Second World War. 5 large boulders on my right in that reflecting pool each represent a generation of Japanese Americans receiving an apology from the federal government in the 1980s, the US in the 1940s. Written inside the names of the internment camps Japanese Americans found themselves during that war. Many of them were located in the Mountain Time Zone state. Law firm. It is the largest of our law firms in Washington, D.C. How exciting. They make most of their money doing PR work for various big companies. Now, Bell Tower. Robert Taft was a famous senator. 6 terms. He served in the United States Senate from the state of Ohio. As part of the political family, the Tafts. His father was our 27th president, William Howard Taft. Such when Robert was given the specifics of his memorial on my left, said he wanted there to be 27 bells up top, not to the fact his father was the 27th president. And figure out where to begin construction. But here, Washington, D.C. originally was 100 square miles gifted to the federal government by the states of Virginia and Maryland, farm and swamp. Mayor Charles Luco around trying to figure out where to begin construction in the swamp, and he sees on our left, he sees this hill. See the hill? He decides to put the Capitol building there because he described it as a pedestal awaiting a monument. Pedestal awaiting a monument. This is the monument we built. The Capitol building is higher in elevation than the White House, and this is the center of a street pattern, not the White House. Over on my left, the United States Capitol building. Now, out back behind the United States Capitol building on our on our left-hand side, this is the Peace Memorials, the first of our United States Civil War-related memorials we'll be seeing this evening. There are 2 women in that statue found over on my left-hand side. America, crying their shoulder to any other. Many of them were built within living memory of the United States Civil War. Bloodiest conflict the United States has ever fought. We're rounding the traffic circle here, and on my right, you'll be able to... Ulysses S. Grant, of course, became our 18th president. Depicted there is General Grant, and he faces his commander-in-chief, Abraham Lincoln, to whom he still answers after death. Staircases there on our left, that is where every president since Ronald Reagan has been sworn in. President Ronald Reagan felt the west of the building over there on my left looked a lot better on television than the east did. He also wanted to face west towards his home state of California when he took the oath of office. So since him, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and of course Donald Trump have all taken their oaths of office there on my left between those 2 staircases on the west of the United States Capitol building. 20th president. He was also sadly the second of 4 American presidents to be assassinated, shot in 1881 by a disgruntled office seeker here in our city. In 1880, James Garfield was elected from the House of Representatives, which is behind him to the presidency, the first and only time in history that has occurred. But his statue is here by the House of Representatives because of that. He was the first American president to be elected straight from the House of Cards. On our right, the Capitol building reflecting pool. It is featured in the introduction to House of Cards. However, House of Cards was not filmed here in Washington, D.C. beyond that introduction scene. Does anybody care to guess where it was filmed? Filmed in Baltimore, Maryland. House of Cards is actually filmed in Baltimore, Maryland. District residents can memorial ever to be built. There on my left-hand side, the Dwight David Eisenhower Memorial under construction, approved by the United States Congress, funded by the United States taxpayer over there on my left-hand side. Behind it, that is the Lyndon Baines Johnson Building. That is the headquarters of the United States Department of Education. For any school-age guests I have on board the trolley, that's where all your homework comes from, that building. From the back of the Capitol building over there on my right to a monument for our first president, George Washington, here on my left, a distance about 1 mile. The portion which now extends to Lincoln Memorial, that is newer. It's built on reclaimed land from the Potomac River over there on my left-hand side. And his name was James Smithson. Now, James Smithson was the illegitimate son of a British duke and his friend. Now, the Park Service did something interesting a couple years ago. They moved the combined efforts of all our states and territories during the Second World War. 56 pillars of a right, each represents a state territory in the United States during the war. Each one has its own wreath of wheat, wreath of oak on it. Wreath of wheat, the agricultural strengths of the United States. Wreath of oak, the industrial strengths of the United States. Behind that fountain complex, the Wall of Remembrance, 4,000 stars. Each represents 100 servicemen from the United States killed during the Second World War. Behind it, the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, where Jenny met up with Forrest and in 1995, Forrest Gump fell. And behind that, the... Do I have any United States Navy veterans or Navy... John Paul Jones helped to found the United States Navy during the American Revolution. originally from Scotland, also found in the United States Navy during the American Revolution. He went on to serve with Catherine the Great of Russia and the Russian Navy, fighting the Ottoman Empire in the Black Sea. There's the statue over there on my left-hand side. Well, as we keep driving, you look over on our left, you'll see a number of trees along the water on my left hand. Connected to two parts of the... We're on top of the tidal basin. Another view of the monument on my left. So I said it was capped off in 1884, but 4 years after that, 1888, the city started to allow guests to go to the top of the Washington, Monument. At the time, women were not allowed to use it. A fear at the time that the elevator, this brand new piece of technology for the 1880s, would break down fairly easily and leave women in a very uncomfortable position of being trapped on the same elevator with a bunch of men. So they did the gentlemanly thing and had the ladies walk up the 898 steps to get to the top. Of course, we are a very progressive city here in Washington, D.C., very progressive city. And now no one gets to use the elevator house. The idea there is he checks to make sure no tyrants ever enter the White House. Just to make sure no tyrants ever enter the White House over there on my right-hand side. Of course, we were very pleased that I was about to make my joke that he has a 72% success rate, but they warned me about doing that anymore. On my right-hand side, Jefferson statue. Of course, that's a very apolitical joke. I try and get both sides of the aisle to laugh here. On headquarters of the nation military. So on my right, the Washington Monument. On my left, directly across the river, floodlights on the Pentagon over there on my left-hand side. Needles coming out of the ground, that side of the river there on my left-hand side. Everybody see them? Those are the pillars of the United States Air Force Memorial, and they are closest to the side of the Pentagon where American Airlines Flight 77 crashed on September the 11th, 2000. Vietnam Wall on the North Lincoln Memorial property. Alright, if anybody needs to do the restrooms, they are to the left of the Lincoln.
Alright, we had the Vietnam Wall on a night tour.
City was really good. RV. Did you see a comment with the RV? Yeah, that was documentary. That's what it's like.
Georgetown is the oldest part of our city. It's the only part that goes back to colonial days. It's believed Georgetown was named after George II of the United Kingdom. They were originally founded as a tobacco port in the cocks that were taken from the island of Iwo Jima and brought here in the 1950s. Underneath that, a black granite pedestal. Written on the black granite pedestal, the names of every single battle, war engagement Marines have fought in from 1775 founding to the present day. Now look to the top of the flagpole, my wonderful guest. There's an optical illusion with it. If you keep your eyes focused on the top of the flagpole as we drive past, it'll give the illusion the flag is actively being raised. Now I myself cannot look because I am driving, but please look for me there on my left-hand side. Thank you. Alright, they're marketing people at the Internal Revenue Service. Goodness, I wish the trolley company could hire them. These are fantastic. One of their fun catchphrases at the IRS. If you make it, we take it. We have what it takes to take